Hey there, how you doing? Charlie Winters here with horse racing tips for Sunday, the 16th of November. Well, let's get straight into it. So, yesterday it was five times stake return. So, in the end, I ended up placing a 15 pence each way, lucky 63. Comes to about £18. It returned £99, so just over five times stake. So, happy with that. We started off with a 22 to 1, and I think it offered 107 pound cash out. Didn't take it. I knew it. Well, I say I knew I would regret it. I thought, here we go, when the next one didn't come anywhere. But just saying that, yeah, it returned 99. What I will say is some of the others still ran very good races. Stencil, I thought, is one worth putting in notebooks because I do believe it'll probably head in towards Cheltenham again. I think it was very keen for the first two fences. In my opinion, it jumped really well. It looks a huge horse, and I think don't know, I'm no expert on this, but I think it'll come on for the run. It wasn't tuned up for that race. Probably a lot of them weren't tuned up for that race. I think there's a decent race in that horse over fences. It seemed to travel really well, and I think it just I think it was just short on the day anyway of fitness. But I do think the keenness early on sent it over the top slightly. Um, it was very tired jumping the last, but you're going to be if you're blown up, you're blown up. You're not going to recover running up that hill. So yeah, I think that's definitely one to put in your notebooks. Yeah, some very good. Some horses ran very well in that bet. Just a shame that they all didn't come place, but yeah. So let's move on to Sunday. So I'll tell you what, I really like the look of these. It's took me a while to pick them, so I probably pretty much forgot or going to get wrong why I like each one of them. But let me go into it now. So it's a 10 pence each way, lucky 63. So the first selection is Bespoke Taylor at 18 to 1 in the 115 at Cheltenham. I do believe this is trained by Oliver. Just give me a second. I'm not going to waste your time by not actually being able to tell you properly. So I'll remember the minute I see the race, I'll remember. So it's a 2 mile hurdle. So there's some decent. It's a decent race. This one is. I'm not bothered that you can't see it. Just listen to me for the time being. So this horse is trained by Oliver Signey. I believe that's how you say it. It ran behind, so it was quite progressive, and then it ran a decent race at Fontwall over hurdles. I do believe that this horse will come on for the run. 105, it's got some ground to make, but they are paying first four. There are question marks over a few of them because straight away I think that although we had some horses or a horse that won well yesterday, I do believe the James Owen horse, Ambient Friendly, it's coming off a wind operation. I'm sorry, but I can't touch. I'm not saying it won't win, but I can't touch them, and I always put them as doubts when they've had a relatively recent wind operation. Um, and then you've got the Ollie Murphy trained horse hold the hold the serve. Um, it's probably a very good horse, but it's the first time over hurdles. There's probably a reason why it's second favourite. It's probably got a very big reputation and probably is a decent horse. But it's a competitive race, and I just think that Bespoke Taylor could sneak the fourth place at a decent price. The second selection is Jigs Forge at 11 to 4 in the 145 at Cheltenham. They're paying first two in this, but I think it's worth a bet. This horse, I think, is bred to want fences. Ben Paulin has started the season well, in my opinion, strongly. Um, I think this horse will come into its own over fences. Don't get me wrong, it's a competitive. I think they've all got chances in this, but I think if it's prominent, I think it'll be very hard to pass. His horses do seem to be have been well, the ones I've backed do seem to be finishing the races quite strongly, even not if not quite winning. The next selection is Glengooley at 100 to 30 in the 220 at Cheltenham. I'm a bit gutted for this because it's a stable I think um, could have a very good season. I don't mean they're going to win a Gold Cup. I just think they could have some very nice touches. Well, this comes from the same stable that I picked the November handicap second at 40 to 1. Um, I think I can't remember what it called now. Miss Dusky something, I think it was called. It's the Faye Bramley trained horse. She's sent two for the day at Cheltenham, but I can give the other one a bit of a chance. No ordering Joe, but I just fancy other horses in the race. But going back to this Glen Gooley, I think it's worthy favourite because it was rated 140 about 18 months ago, a year to 18 months ago. Have they been running over the wrong distance? I don't know, but if they have been, it's actually run in the national, and it's over 2 mile. I think if it's not enjoyed those kind of distances at all, you're looking at an extremely well handicapped horse with talent because in its last run it did run over 2 mile and it was its best performance for a while. So this stiff 2 mile could be very interesting. I can't remember now. This is off the top of my head. I do think it's ran at Cheltenham in the past, but don't quote me on that. Um, but I think it's got a decent chance, Glenn Gooley. Obviously, it's the favourite. Is it value? Well, I think it could win. You could see a massively well handicapped horse. So, yeah, I think it's got a chance. So, the next selections are Nasalem or Nasalem, whatever it's called, at 12 to 1 in the 255 at Cheltenham. So, if this horse is prominent, um, if it doesn't pack in or down tools by about the sixth fence, and I think you've got a chance. If it starts jumping well and gets into rhythm, it's the first time for a very long time it's had really bad ground, and this is bad ground. Apparently it's quick into soft. Well, it does drain well, but I think the soft ground's going to be really hard work today. There were plenty of runners scattered all over the course, so in my opinion, there's probably no hiding place now because they were literally running all over the course yesterday. So I think Nisalem, I really thought, hoping it would be like 20s plus, but it's 12 to 1. It could be bigger on the day. But they've switched the headgear. They've had cheek pieces on for a while. It's only ever, in my opinion, ran well once in cheek pieces, and that was the first time cheek pieces. Since then, it's not done a great deal. Is it because of the cheek pieces? Well, I'm hoping so because the blinkers are on today. I do believe it's had blinkers on. Yeah, yes, it has had blinkers on in the past, and it has ran well with them, and it's ran poorly with them. But I think the change in headgear might give it a kick up the backside. They will know everything about this horse. Was the actually just keeping it running to eventually have one last go with it, as in like head for some big handicaps before they retire? Because I can't remember the age of this horse, but I think it must be at least 8. I know eight's not old for a national hunt horse, but it's when I say at least 8, in fact, surely it must be about 10. Let me have a quick look. It just seems to be around for a very long time. 255. So it could be the last hurrah this season. Could you watch? It'll be a 5 year old. I know it's not. Can't be a 5 year old. Otherwise, I am going round plot. Nasalem. Oh, it's an 8 year old. So there's still plenty of time. I really, even when I said 8 years, I thought I would give it benefit of doubt. But yeah, 8 year old. So yeah. So I just think if it hasn't down tools by halfway, you've got a serious chance. So the next selection is Dedicated Hero at 18 to 1 in the 330 at Cheltenham. Right, I do fancy this one strongly, but I've got to come back to the form again. So, oh, it's there. Look. Yeah, so this horse, basically, it was very progressive back in the last season. Oh, okay. That was a video. I'm sure you can pause it and see what video it was. It's nothing dodgy. It's about life after death and that kind of stuff, near death experiences. But you don't need to know that. So, Dedicated Hero, 18 to 1 in the 330 at Cheltenham. It ran well at Kelso on bad ground. It was keen and still finished well. And I know that Cheltenham's nothing like Kelso, but quite often they do send horses up to Kelso before they go to Cheltenham. Certain trainers do, which is quite interesting. Quite often they get beat, but I just think I don't know why. I think it's maybe because it's a fast track with a steep uphill finish. Well, I know Cheltenham's not that apart from the steep uphill finish, but I do think that this horse was heading in the right direction up until it was upped in distance, and then it plateaued out a bit. I'm just thinking from a conspiratorial point of view. I'm thinking, did they run it over that far because it wasn't currently ready for that far just to protect its handicap mark? I don't know, but I find it interesting. They're going back in distance. I think this is 2 mile, and I do think it'll run prominently, and I think it'll run all the way through to the line. Um, it can't be that often that Sandy Thompson sends horses right down to Cheltenham because I do believe he's a Scottish trainer, or do they call them borders trainers? He's right up there. So it's a long way for him to send this horse. I just think that they're not going to send it for no reason whatsoever. Danny McMenamin, decent jockey, doesn't visit Cheltenham that often. It's probably not really a clue in itself, but um, I know he did ride a horse for Nicky Richards that won a Cheltenham race not too long ago. I think it was a National Hunt one. So yeah, he does come down for rides where he's got a bit of a chance. So maybe it is a bit of a clue. I don't know. The the last horse is very interesting. It's the only race, it's the only horse I've picked that I've actually just watched the race it ran in. Um, so I was scouring for because it's an extra place race. I can't remember if it said 4 or 5 races places. I think it's 4. So it's this is a very competitive national hunt flat race. So you got a horse in there, second favourite called Chicory. It won pretty well. If you watch this race, you can go to racing TV, type in Chicory. It's just shorter and easier. Click on it and watch the race, and you'll see this horse, Wonder Flying. It's in red, and it runs an extremely decent race. And the reason why I'm going for it this time is I like the fact that they're reopposing Chicory. They may not think they can beat it. I don't know. But that horse was first time out for Henrietta Knight. Me personally, I don't think Henrietta Knight does next to anything with her horses first time out or leading up to that. All it'll be, in my opinion, is education. She'll be teaching them. I don't think she won't be blasting them up the gallops, 5 furlong sprints and gaining fair. She's been renowned over the years for overly looking after her horses. To be fair, where and maybe under racing them. Well, I'm thinking this horse. It was travelling really well. I'm not saying it was pulling double all the way around. It got a little bit outpaced turning for home, or it looked a little bit naive or green turning for home, as in like, right, we've got to quicken, have we? And I think it lost its place slightly because there were 2 horses either side of it. It just got shuffled back slightly. And if you watch through it, I'm not going to show it because the video gets demonetized. And right, to be fair, I only get about £1.50 a video. It's not a great deal to lose, but just watch it yourself. It gets shuffled back, and once it loses the ground, it doesn't lose that much more ground because once he once he runs in behind horses after that, Brendan Powell does, and then he switches it all over the place, going up a steep hill, but he still finishes very strongly. And I think this horse only finishing 6 lengths behind Chicory, I do believe it'll probably be more progressive because Chicory had already had a previous run. I'm not. This is not like a kind of match bet. I'm just trying to pick an angle. So Chicory is the second favourite. I'm just thinking if this horse can finish within 3 lengths of Chicory, with it being the second favourite, can it finish in the places? I don't see why not. Don't get me wrong, it is competitive, and there is some horses with lots of potential. But I just go for the fact that Henrietta horses aren't renowned for being straightforward, ready on their debuts, and I think there's a lot of improvement to come. Maybe Maybe it was flattered that run. I don't know, but time will tell. So these are all the horses. So it's a 10 pence each way. Lucky 63. So it's Charlie Winters over and out. Cheers, mate.